Hello everyone and welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Matt and in today's video I'm gonna be showing you all of my silver plants and we're gonna be ranking them. We're gonna go from worst to best and I'm gonna rank these plants based on how much I like them, my growing experience, and their general ease of care. The plants don't necessarily have to be completely silver or have silver in their name to be considered for this category. They just need to have a prominent feature that is silver-ish. And make sure to stick till the end because number one might surprise you. Let me know in the comments your opinion on silver plants. Do you love them? Do you hate them? And which one is your favorite? Without further ado, let's get started. My least favorite silver plant in my collection is unfortunately the Hoya multiflora Wonderfill. Now, I say unfortunately because this is a plant that I was really excited about. I was eyeing this plant for a couple of months before actually biting the bullet and getting a cutting off this plant. I actually was looking for a regular green multiflora, but then I saw this version, the silvery one, and I fell in love. I got my cutting, I grew it to a pretty sizable plant, and now I'm just kind of like, it's a cute plant, don't get me wrong. I am just not the biggest fan of its growth structure. It just looks kind of boring. Boring doesn't really do it for me. I want the plants in my collection to inspire me. I want them to have some sort of feature that just draws me in and that I can't stop looking at. But unfortunately, this plant just doesn't do that for me. I often forget about this plant, which is not that great because this is a very thin-leafed Hoya. And thin-leafed Hoyas need a lot more water. If I was really on top of maintenance for this plant, I would have to water it at least twice, maybe even 3 times per week. That's how thirsty this plant is. And on top of that, it still didn't bloom for me, which is why I wanted a multiflora in the first place. Those shooting star-shaped blooms, they're everything, but unfortunately this one has given me a couple of pedunks, but no blooms as of yet. So hopefully, come spring and summer, this plant will bloom and maybe, just maybe, I will actually love it a bit more. But as it stands right now, it's just kind of unremarkable. And if I were to part with this plant, I would probably not miss it. It is a shame, but that is the reality of being a plant parent. You don't know if you're actually gonna love the plant until you get it. So for that reason, my least favorite silver plant on this list is the Hoya multiflora Wonderfill. I will say though, I do love that name. Love that name. The next plant is gonna have to be my Scindapsus exotica, and this is such a beautiful plant. The foliage, the way it trails, the way the leaves are so much bigger than your usual Scindapsus or even pothos leaves. I think it's such a cool statement piece. It's a very easy plant, but the reason why it's so low on my list is because it tends to get leggy quite fast. These have a tendency to throw out long runners, aka vines, without a single leaf on it. Now granted, that is mostly due to the conditions that I'm growing this plant in. I am growing this on top of my vitro shelf. It's only receiving natural light from a north-facing window that's quite far away from it. So of course, it's not in ideal conditions. On top of that, Scindapsuses in nature are shingling plants or climbing plants. So this plant in its natural habitat would prefer to climb, and I'm obviously not giving it that option. I often have to chop this plant back, but the flip side of that is that it gets a lot more bushy up here. And I love the way that my specimen is currently growing. I love its length, I love the amount of bushiness, And I do really like this plant. Similar to the multiflora, it's one that I kind of forget about. Dare I say it's kind of a filler plant. I've had this plant for quite a long time. I've actually restarted it, I believe like a year ago, because I had it previously growing in soil. It got pretty long. I don't quite remember what happened. It either had root rot or I was just getting tired of the way that I was growing it. So I decided to chop it up. I took some one-leaf propagations and I potted them up in semi-hydro. And that's what this plant is currently growing in. It's growing in pond, and honestly, it's happy as a clam. The Scindapsus exotica is a beautiful plant, but one that is just not blowing my socks off. And that's okay. We're gonna continue with the trailing plants and talk about the Cebu Blue Pothos next. I feel like this is such a iconic plant in the plant community. Everybody and their mother had or has this plant, and for a good reason. It is super unique. The coloring of these leaves is really one of a kind. I love this silvery bluish sheen. It's gorgeous. And of course, it's a pothos, so it's super easy. However, similar to the Scindapsus, it loves to throw out long runners without a single leaf on it, and it drives me insane. Or if it does give you leaves, it will just give you the tiniest little, piteous little leaf. And I'm like, girl, this is not gonna cut it. It's not gonna cut it. This is another plant that I actually recently restarted from a couple of cuttings, again, in pond. I just love pond because it's so low maintenance. And so far, so good. I really love the appearance of this plant. And I think that I'm actually just gonna keep on chopping this plant back and keeping it in this kind of bushy format. Once these get like super long, I don't generally tend to like them as much. They look kind of scraggly and not that good. And also, they need a lot of space once they get long. But keeping them in more of a bush form not only saves space, but it also just keeps the plant, in my opinion, looking a lot healthier. Now this is a climbing plant, and technically I could grow this up a moss pole, get some beautiful big leaves, but I am not interested in doing that because I actually really like the juvenile form of the Cebu Blue. Yeah, the mature form is impressive, but to me, the juvenile form is where it's at. And also, I just don't want to deal with moss poles, and big plants are kind of a hassle. So I actually really loved having this guy in a smaller, more compact form. But again, it's kind of at the bottom of the barrel just because of the way that it grows and the way that it does need quite a lot of maintenance to keep looking full, bushy, and healthy. But no silver plant video would be complete without the Cebu Blue. If you're enjoying this video thus far, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and most importantly, watch the video till the end. All those things help the YouTube algorithm recommend this channel to more awesome people like you. Thank you so much for your support. Now this is where things get tough, because all the following plants I absolutely love, but I had to be brutal. And next on my ranking is gonna be the Hoya nicholsonii New Guinea Ghost. This plant is so good. I love this plant. I guess some might consider this foliage more minty, but to me it is silverish. And I just love this plant. It's such a cool Hoya. It has such a cool texture. It has such a cool leaf shape. It has such cool venations. And it's a Hoya, which means that it's a pretty chill plant. Now again, this is a bit of a thinner leafed Hoya, not as thin as the multiflora, but it definitely requires a lot more water and attention. And something that I absolutely love about this plant is its ability to sun stress. This plant sun stresses beautifully. And usually I am not the biggest fan of sun-stressed Hoyas, but the New Guinea Ghost, yes please, give me that sun-stressing. Now, the reason why this plant is a little bit lower on my list is because I sometimes struggle with getting nice leaves on this plant. They tend to look sometimes a little bit shriveled, a little bit janky, and that is probably due to my inconsistent watering habits. And this plant also never bloomed for me. I also am kind of scared of getting pests on this plant. I've had thrips on this plant before quite badly, so I definitely know that it is a thrips magnet, which I don't really appreciate, but I do love the plant as a whole. And I think it's definitely one that I will forever have in my collection in some sort of capacity. Right now, I'm just growing it on a arch trellis. I have it in a chunky aeroid mix, and it is living in my north-facing window. Would this prefer a lot more light, especially if I wanted to get the sun stressing? Yes, but that's all I can offer it as of right now. So that's all it's getting, and honestly, it's happy. It's doing fine. We will see how this upcoming growing season will treat this plant, but the fact that I've grown this from a cutting to this size in like, I don't know, maybe less than 2 years, definitely less than 2 years, is good enough for me. The Hoya Nicholsonii New Guinea Ghost is definitely one of the keepers. We're gonna continue with the Hoya train and talk about the Hoya Silver Dollar. Oh my God, this was such a unexpected find. I ordered this plant, or a cutting of this plant, with a friend of mine. We decided to order a small little plant that had a couple of leaves on it. I chopped it, took the top nodes for myself, and gave her the bottom part of the plant. And this is what I have managed to grow from those small cuttings in, again, roughly a year and a half, I would say, perhaps. And I love this plant. It is such a cool Hoya. This is the quintessential Hoya. It's thick, it's beautiful, it's glossy, it's smooth, and it's silver, and I love it. This is quite a chunky Hoya, and it's, I would say, a pretty good grower. These do like a lot of light. Again, the best I can offer it is my north-facing window. And that north-facing window actually does get a decent amount of sunlight. I am on a bit of a higher floor and there's like no obstructions in front of my window. So surprisingly, that north-facing window does get good light, and it also does get some afternoon sunlight now that the sun is higher and longer in the sky. So these plants do actually get some sunlight. Not a lot of sunlight, but they do get a little bit of sunlight. But either way, this plant is so gorgeous. And I cannot stress enough the fact that all of these plants I love. Like, I have no qualms with any of these, which is why it was so hard to rank them. But I would say the reason that this one is maybe a little bit lower than some of my other plants is just because it hasn't bloomed yet. And I feel like it's a decent size. I feel like it's a bloomable size. So if this thing were to bloom for me, it would probably get bumped up that list. But either way, I just really enjoy growing this Hoya, and it's such a easy Hoya. Never gave me any grief. I've never had any pests with it, never any root related issues. It's just a walk in the park. And on top of that, it looks gorgeous. I mean, come on. The silver dollar, mwah. Oh my God, be careful. Whew. The next plant is my Alocasia Platinum. Look at her, all of her angles, a beautiful, stunning, gorgeous, sexy diva. I love this plant. I've grown this plant from a tiny little, I believe like 1 or 2 leaf planty into this giant bush of a plant. And I've actually recently chopped this plant back so it was even bushier, which is crazy. But this is probably one of my easiest alocasias. It's one of the alocasias that I've virtually had no issues with until recently. Because if you've been on my channel, y'all know that I have been dealing with thrips a lot, especially like black adult thrips. And unfortunately, this plant was one of the victims. We did a lot of treatments, we did a lot of trial and error, but I just wasn't really able to get rid of the thrips. They didn't do a whole lot of damage, but they were just annoying. Now, I am actually trying out a different treatment method for my thrips issue, and knock on wood, I don't want to jinx myself, but I haven't seen a thrip in like a hot minute, so I don't want to jinx it, but maybe there will come a day where I will finally shut up about having thrips. Fingers crossed. And of course, if I do get rid of them, I will be making a video about it, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, this plant, it's just beautiful. It's such a stunning plant. If you're looking for a easy care alocasia that's silver, get yourself the platinum. I have it on my Vitio shelf under Barina lights. That's where it has been living for more than a year. Happy as a clam, constantly growing. The only other issue that I have with this plant, and this is an issue that I have with alocasias in general, is that they tend to get quite stemmy. As you can see, this plant has obviously grown a lot throughout the years, and now it has a very long, bare stem. And I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it. I think the best thing to do would be to just restart this plant. Now, does that mean taking some top cuttings and trying to root those? Does it mean just completely hacking the plant back and letting it regrow? I'm not 100% sure, but I will have to do something at some point because it is just getting a little bit redonkulous. However, as of right now, I'm just really enjoying this plant. I love the way that this looks in my background, and I love what this plant adds to my collection. And I cannot envision my collection without the Alocasia Platinum. The next plant and me have a bit of a toxic relationship because I love this plant, but it does tend to give me a lot of grief. And that is the Maranta Silver Band. I mean, look at her. How can you not be absolutely in love with this plant? It is so gorgeous. The light silver streaks against that dark foliage. It's beautiful. It is a work of art. I truly can't believe that this is an actual living thing, that Mother Nature managed to create something this beautiful. I love the Maranta Silver Band. It's by far my favorite Maranta. However, Marantas are kind of a royal pain in the ass. I'm growing this in pon, and I wouldn't want to grow this plant in any other way because this is a thirsty hoe. Thirsty motherfucker. Oh my god. This plant drinks water like it's nobody's business. It's insane. It's also such a pest magnet. Spider mites, thrips, they just love this plant. I've had a big issue with thrips on this plant, actually on all of my Marantas, because Marantas have so many like little nooks and crannies and areas where the pests can hide in, and it is insanity. However, I just love this plant so much. It's such a fast growing plant. It's such a relatively easy plant when you have it in pon. And although it sometimes breaks my heart, I just cannot see myself parting with this plant. And I don't mind putting in the little bit of extra work it takes to keep this plant looking really, really nice. Now, I will say another thing that is a little bit annoying about this plant is that it blooms a lot, which is great. It means the plant is happy. However, the blooms aren't anything particularly interesting to look at, and they create a lot of debris and mess. So usually whenever I see some flower spikes, I just chop those all off because I don't need them. Get them out of here. Get them out of here. But all of those issues aside, I absolutely love the Maranta Silver Band. Now we're entering the territory of some amazing looking houseplants. And we're starting off with the Begonia White Ice. Look at her. She's literally covering the whole freaking frame. Oh my God, she's huge. She's huge. She's massive. What do you mean? Look at this plant. Look at her. And she's 360. Oh yeah, it keeps going. It keeps going, baby. I love my Begonia Silver. What? I love my Begonia White Ice. The silvery dottiness of this plant, the way it grows, the way it's just a bush, the red undersides. It's beautiful. But another one that is a thirsty hoe. I have been growing this plant in semi-hydro ever since I got it. And again, I would not grow this plant in any other medium. All of this growth I attribute purely to semi-hydro. I didn't do this. This is all the work of Pon, which is why I love Pon. It's magical. It doesn't work for all plants, but for begonias, it's literally a miracle because this plant is so thirsty, and Pon just makes it super easy to keep on top of the watering requirements of this plant. And I mean, look at it. Do I have to say anything else? And fun story, this was another one that was heavily infested with thrips, and I actually chopped this plant back to nothing. It was just a couple of sticks in a pot. And look at it now. Look at it now, bitch. Like only a couple of months later, and it is big. It is large and in charge, chunky yet funky. And I actually haven't seen any thrips on this plant since she regrew. I don't know, like, did she become resilient to them? I mean, I sure hope so. But either way, this is definitely one that I don't think I will ever part with. The thing that I will probably eventually have to do is just kind of like prune it back in order to keep this bushy appearance. But I love this plant. It lives smack down in the middle of my coffee table. Again, only receiving natural light from that north-facing window. If you're looking for a begonia, I highly, highly, highly recommend the Begonia White Ice. We're entering the top 3 territory right now, so it's about to go down, baby. And the first plant of that trio is gonna be my Hoya Wilbur Graves Silver. Now, you might ask yourself, well, Matt, this plant is kind of small and not that impressive looking. Like, you showed us some much more impressive looking Hoyas. And I do agree, I did show you some much more impressive Hoyas. However, the reason why this plant is my 3rd favorite silver plant is just because of the silver itself. The leaves of this thing are so beautiful. I can't even explain how pretty the color of this plant is. The camera does not do it justice. It's that perfect turquoisey, silvery, pastel-y color. Every time I look at this plant, it makes me happy. And that's what this is all about. That's what I want out of my plant collection, to make me happy, excited. And that's another reason why this plant is so high on my list, because I am excited about this plant. I am looking forward to growing it, to seeing how it will evolve, what it will look like a year, 2, 5, 10 from now. It's a very slow grower, but sometimes I find that the slower the grower, the more rewarding the growth is. Now, ideally, if I really wanted to bring out the full potential of this plant, I would put it on some kind of trellis. However, this is a carnosa variety, and those actually make for really beautiful trailers. Not all Hoyas can trail beautifully, but I really appreciate a nice trailing Hoya. And I am just envisioning this plant as a full, bushy, trailing pot of goodness. That's why this plant is so high on my list, because the potential is through the roof. I absolutely love my Hoya Wilbur Graves Silver. I've talked about this plant a lot on my channel because I truly think it's a staple in my collection, and that is the Aglaonema Silver Bay. Now, this is a very common plant. Some might say basic. However, I would argue that this is one of my favorite plants in my entire collection because it is so easy, ridiculously easy. You can grow this thing in a wide variety of conditions. Low light, high light, medium light. You can underwater it, you can overwater it, you can grow it in a lot of different mediums. This plant is just gonna chill. She's gonna be happy with whatever you do to her. And plants like this, plants that I don't have to lose sleep over, yeah, that's where it's at. I always say that Aglaonemas are kind of like the easy care version of Calatheas because they have a similar patterning, but the Silver Bay in particular just looks fake. It looks like somebody splashed paint on these leaves, and I love it. And because it's such a versatile plant and you can virtually grow it anywhere, I love using this plant in my interior decor to just lighten up some of those dark corners. And this plant gets the job done, and it rarely complains. I've also never had any pest pressures on this plant, which is a miracle considering I had thrips running rampant everywhere, and literally they were on every single one of my plants. But for some reason, this one just kind of always evaded them. I've had it for years. I hope I'm gonna continue to have it for many more. I am starting to run into the issue where the plant is getting a little bit too heavy. So I'm actually supporting this plant right now with some rocks. So eventually I will have to do something, take some cuttings, restart it. But until that day comes, I'm definitely just gonna let her do her thing, let her grow, and also just be grateful for the fact that I can have something so beautiful and stunning in my house. And if you're a beginner plant parent and don't know where to start, please get yourself a Aglaonema Silver Bay. We've come to the end. We've come to number one, and I told y'all this might be a surprise because this plant is nothing remarkable. It's very basic, it's very common, it's very easy care, but it is my favorite silver plant, and that is the Sansevieria metallica. I love this plant. This doesn't even feel like a plant. This feels like a piece of art, like a sculpture that I am growing somehow inside my house. It feels like an absolute piece of art, which is why I love it. The foliage, the color, the streakiness, the length of the leaves. It's a lot skinnier than your regular Sansevieria varieties, which I definitely prefer. Obviously, this being a Sansevieria means that it's virtually unkillable, and I've had no issues with this plant. It's actually currently bone dry. Like, this pot weighs as much as a feather, and I need to water it, and I also need to shower it because it is very dusty. But that's what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. I can neglect this thing to no end. I can go on holiday, I can be sick, I can neglect my plants for weeks, and this plant is just gonna be there. It's just gonna be there chilling and looking stunning. And that's the reason why this plant is my favorite silver plant. It's not about how rare, expensive, unique a plant is. It's about what it adds to your life and collection. And what this plant adds to my life is a stunning piece of art. So if you're in the market for an easy care silver plant, you can get only one. You can't get better than the Sansevieria Metallica. And that's it. Those are all of my silver plants ranked. Once again, do let me know in the comments what your favorite silver plant is, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Have an amazing, super fabulous day, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!